So good morning. How are we doing today? I'm here with Chris Gill, Councillor nominee for Ward 3. And we have a number of questions we want to go over this morning. Chris, thanks for joining me. I hope you're having a great day.
Pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me, and it's always a good day.
Yeah, we started with coffee and breakfast over at the Dairy Bar here in Port Dover.
Yeah, boy, that's a nice place. Lots of people, lots of interesting people. That's why
You can't go wrong, right? For sure.
No, that's great there.
Okay, so right out of the chute here, I want to talk about the 40-something% increase that the councillors and the council voted in. Now, it's going to take effect after this year's election, but you're against such a raise. You've made that very clear. What would be the alternative to something like that?
Well, if we can, let's just say that out loud a few times. I'm going to give myself a 40% raise. Then we say it again, a 40% raise. The more that I say it, and my dad taught me early, my dad was a farmer, and he taught me, if you got to say something a few times to think about it, it's probably not the right time to do it, right? And listen, I'm not saying that councillors don't work hard. I'm not saying that councillors don't deserve a raise, but I think it has to be modest. I believe that we have to lead the example of financial scrutiny. It's no surprise that our finances are in trouble. That's why there's such high rate taxes every year. The raises keep coming up and up and up, and that's because of their shortfalls. There's shortfalls because we're spending too much. We're spending more than we bring in. And I'm not saying that we can't do that, but when we do it, we got to be very careful as to why we're doing that, right? So I think the council should want to set the example, stop this ridiculous 47% raise. I say that we shelve it for now, put that money back into the budget, okay, and lead by example. And then after we've done the job to say we can balance the budget, then let's talk about maybe a raise that's a little more aligned to cost of living, or something that's a little more reasonable that the average person of reasonable intelligence can agree with. But when I see 40%, and I've challenged the other council members about this, show me another example of where that takes place. Now, I know the rationale was that we want to give everyone a raise because we want to be a percentage of what a federal politician is and a provincial politician. They're not even the same jobs. That's a wage of one person, not a wage of 8 or 10, right? So the reasonability to me, and the fact that it even went through, I'm very surprised, but I want to commend the councillors that didn't vote it in, but for those who did, I question their motives a little bit. That's it.
Okay, so property taxes is another huge issue. That's something you can't be on social media and not hear about the property tax issue here in Norfolk County. In the past 4 years, there have been
Crazy.
So 3 out of 5 years, property taxes have been 5% or higher. What are your plans to lower taxes?
It's a real sensitive issue for me. My mother-in-law lives in Waterford. Right? Her and her father, her and her husband, I should say, and grandparents, they raised a family, a great family, one I'm married to today. My wife Anna's lovely, and she comes from that family. They worked so hard working on raspberry farms and tobacco farms, and father having 2 or 3 different jobs, where there was no pensions back then and all this. And now, as time's gone on, the family's evolved. She's by herself because the father-in-law has passed on.
Right.
She's on a very fixed income of Canada Pension and OAS, a little bit of savings from the farm, but they're not rich people by any means. And then we hit them with an increase of property taxes every year. And at some point, the straw breaks the camel's back. And I'm going to say that we're there because now home ownership is at risk for people who are on fixed incomes. It's making it almost unattainable for families that are trying to buy their first home. And for families like me who are established in there, it's tough because every dollar matters, okay?
Sure
That's
does.
what we have to see. What do we have to do? It starts with a very rigorous financial governance, right? We have to lead the example. And what everyone seems to forget is having a budget. That's great. Councillors always say yes to that we got to spend. Knowing when not to spend is also the role of the councillor, and that's where we've been lacking in the past. We can't do everything all the time, and everything doesn't have to be gold-plated. I'm not talking about any cuts in healthcare or roads, but there's other things that we do, such as buying that big Norfolk sign and things like that. Maybe wrong time, wrong place. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but we have to look at reasonability, okay? And there's also something that we can look at that's been talked about before. But part of the barrier to it is about the constant wars going on between the province and us and all this. There's all of these turf wars. Got to stop all that. We got to get along, and we have to get back to the idea of that the provincial tax they take, 1% of that goes back into the county that it comes from. that will wipe out our raises right away. And, we got to push for that. We got to push for the different levels of government getting along. But more importantly, as councillor, every dollar that is spent must be done like it's your own. You just can't always say yes all the time. And I think it comes down to prioritizing what's urgent.
Right.
Of course, what's important and what can wait. And I know it's a tough message for many, but we can't do everything all the time. I'm not saying to cut any services. I think we keep the services that we have going. If we're adding services, we look at it very carefully. And there's always going to be those rare examples. Like, let's say that we get 10 times as many snowstorms as we did the year before. Well, of course, we got to spend more money. But where else can we find some efficiencies? I want to do a deep dive. I want to institute a brand new financial governance system where every head of the department has to justify their budget once a month, right? I've done this before in the corporate world. It worked and amazing. We thought with the millions of dollars of budgets that we had that we couldn't cut anymore. Well, it's not a matter of cutting. Other councillors are saying, I have layoffs. I want nothing to do with that. Let's find efficiencies. We honor our collective agreements, right? But there'll be efficiencies. And we have a budget right now, as I understand, of $146.5 million. And people are telling me that we can't find efficiencies in there. We got to look hard enough, and we will. And again, it comes down to what's urgent, what's important, and what can wait.
Okay, right on. So something you mentioned before as well is fair and equal representation at City Hall and Council. Do you feel there isn't fair and equal representation in the current council? What does that mean to you?
Okay, that's a good question. Thanks for asking. I don't think that it's unfair per se, but we're not reaching the populace. Okay. Every meeting is held in Simcoe. Every meeting is held at a certain time. Most people work a standard job during the day. I'm not saying everybody, but most do. We have to make it more attainable for the community as well. Okay, I would love to start having rotating council meetings. I'm not saying all the time, because you can't do it all the time.
Right.
But I think that at least a few times a year, why not have a council meeting in Delhi, Ontario? Why not have a council meeting down in Port Rowan, Ontario, where local people who don't have access to vehicles can walk to the hall and be heard? Because one thing I know for sure, the brain trust of us in our lovely county is our people, and there's very few things the government can do better than what the people can do themselves, right? And I feel that we've lost the personal side of that, right? And I haven't seen a town council meeting in 7 years, right? I think it's very important also that the councillors that are elected, they promise, because I'm promising right now, that at least 2 to 3 times a year, there's going to be town hall meetings for the constituents. Because again, the only way we can hear ideas, it shouldn't be over an email, it shouldn't be over a text message. Face to face with the community can actually come out and say, you know what, Chris, I think we're doing this very badly. Why do you think that? Let's involve the community. Let's get some subcommittees going. It doesn't cost us anything to hear people out, right? And we don't need to administrate everything to death. But I think that councillors have a responsibility to be in their wards. I'm a strong advocate that you should live in the ward that you represent. Right? I'm not a fan of the other stuff. I'm not saying it's wrong because it's perfectly legal. But how can you represent a ward if you don't live there and you don't see day-to-day activities of everybody?
Right.
That's what I think. I think we got to do a much better job of getting out there and mandatory town hall meetings for each riding.
For sure. Right on. Okay, so your involvement in our local community, you've been a vocal advocate for better and more reliable Hydro One service, particularly in the wake of last year's winter outages.
Brutal.
It was wild.
Brutal.
The blackouts during the winter time is terrible. What other charitable or community organizations are you involved with to support our community?
Well, first off, it starts with being available to the community every day.
Okay.
If there's a community event, I'm going to be there. Whether I'm running or not, I always have been there. And those who know me know that if there's a cause, if I can, I'll help. But as with anything, we all give our time to certain charities, certain events. I'm the chairman of the Ride for Dad of the Golden Horseshoe. For those who don't know what the Ride for Dad is, I'm glad to explain it. It is a charity that I think that was 23 rides across Canada of the motorcycle community. We get together and we raise money for prostate cancer research and awareness. Okay, when I was asked to take over that ride, because I'm a motorcyclist, I'm a part of the community. I'm also involved in the Southern Cruisers Riding Club, which is a family-oriented club. Right. That again does charity rides to raise money for people in need. The Ride for Dad, when I started, the Golden Horseshoe Ride had folded. The organization came to me and said, Chris, we think you got the will and the might to get started again. We did it. I got some great volunteers, most often including my wife and my mother-in-law, who make all the food themselves. They're so dedicated, and all the great support we've had from the Polish Hall and everything else in Delhi has been amazing. But the Ride for Dad is something very dear to my heart because, like, I've been tested for prostate cancer, right? I know that 1 in 7 men will be affected by prostate cancer.
Right.
And last year alone, so I'm talking calendar years,
Yes.
we've given over $60,000 to Dravansky Institute
Wow.
through their research and lab department.
Right.
And if you go back on the Talk Delhi website, you'll see the presentations that went on there. We get donations from the Lions Club. The Waterford Lions have been great about it. But I tell people that you don't need to be a guy to be involved in prostate cancer
For
because
sure.
our women want us to live longer, right? Our daughters, our sons. So it's very much a family experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also very much involved in the Marlene Dupuis Forever 19 ride.
Okay.
That's an awareness thing that we started. A good friend of mine, they live in Simcoe. They lost their son to a workplace accident, and it was so avoidable. You know,
Right.
these things happen, but when tragedies like that happen, people forget about the family that's left behind.
Right.
Okay, now this family, Tracy and Don Dupuis, I respect them a great deal because of the courage that they've shown to keep going.
Right.
We've worked together to get this ride going. It started years ago with the Southern Cruisers as a local ride. Now we've expanded it out to a public ride. Anybody can come, and all of the funds raised go to families that are facing the same thing. Now we're working to establish it as a full-bred charity. That's in process right now, and the process has been good. The community support has been amazing.
Right on.
You know, there's been some companies that come forward to sponsor us as well. So that's something at the grassroots level that I'm really working on. In the past, I've been on the board of Crime Stoppers in the Greater Hamilton area.
Nice.
Something very, very dear to my heart because when my sister was in her 30s, she lost her life to domestic violence.
Okay.
It was an unfortunate story, but however, Crime Stoppers helped us find the offender. Okay, this is a story that's amazing to believe. Crime Stoppers put the word out, we're looking for this person.
Yes.
This has happened. And through reading those articles and those blips in the time that used to be in the papers, okay, before all
Right.
the social media, this is back in the 80s, okay, so social media wasn't quite what it was.
For sure.
An old lady on a plane ticket, the same as him, they turned and recognized and said, "You're that guy Crime Stoppers looking for." She went to the pilot, the guy was arrested, and he served his 35 years in jail.
Wow.
So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm a big supporter of Crime Stoppers.
Yes.
I did my time. I think it's very important, people on the Crime Stoppers board, because of what you're dealing with. I think it's important to rotate, bring new ideas in. So I spent my time there, and I'm very glad to have done that. But I'm involved in a lot of things, and by the time you talk to me next week, I'll probably be involved in something else. Right now, we're trying to set up, a guy named Steve Johnson and I out in Delhi are trying to set up a fundraiser and a community spirit thing to have a water balloon fight with the community.
Oh, there you go.
Because we're missing Harvest Fest, right? We're missing these community events. We want to get that going again. And so if you check back in a month or so, I'll have more to you for that.
Right on. Very, very cool. Okay, so the big question, why should we vote for you? Why should Ward 3 residents vote for Chris Gill?
Well, you know, that a very relative question, but you know what? I'm here for the community 24/7. Anyone who knows me knows that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to see it through. I have no problem stepping up, and I've noticed the lack of advocacy for our ward. Okay, and whether you're in Teeterville or whether you're in Wyndham Center, whether you're in Vanessa, whether you're in Delhi.
Yep.
Most people know where I can be found. My address is public. If you look at the writing stuff they put up there for candidates, put their stuff, my address is public, my phone number is public. I don't hide from the community, I'm here to represent them. I'm getting lots of calls. I love it, and please keep calling because that's why I'm here. If we can make a difference, I think it's important. I think it's important their community should elect a person who is involved in the community and involved in the community deeply. Okay,
Right on.
It's great to say I want to be a counselor. What does it mean to you, and what were you doing before that? I think that's a really strong question that we have to ask each other. Just because someone's popular and they got old friends and all that, that's fantastic, because I want to build community. But what have you done to demonstrate that you lead the community? And I
Right.
think that I have a lot going for me there. Hey, blow my own horn a little bit, but it's because I have the support of my family and my wife, Anna, especially. The best I could ever ask for. You know, I got 2 kids at home. Between us, there's 5 children. And I'm going to tell you something. It's about them.
Right on.
It's always family first, but community. And I think we have to get back to the day where we're here to help our neighbors again. And we shouldn't be afraid to knock on doors and ask for help. And our children, if they need, should be knocking on doors, knowing they're safe if they need to be. And that's what I'm all about.
Right on. Well, awesome. I really appreciate you coming around today answering these questions. A couple
Thanks
of tough
for seeing
questions
me.
in there.
Oh, that's
Some real
great.
issues facing Norfolk County.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. And anytime anyone can call me. If you go on the website, www.chrisgill.ca, all my contact information is there. My complete platform is there.
Right on.
And I wish the other folks running a lot of luck as well, because it's a long grind, it's a tough grind, and whatever the people's choice is, I'll respect it. I'll work with anybody.
For sure.
And I think that's what we got to do, is we got to stop all the infighting, Peter. I think it's so important that we stop all the name calling and all the groups. And another thing I want to bring up, if I can.
Sure.
I'm not aligned to any particular group, okay? Like, I'm independent, and my only representation that I'm doing is for the community. I have no one to answer to. I'm not part of a group of a bunch of people who are over here
Right
taking
on.
up on these people. I don't think that's good politics, right? I think it's important to be ourselves.
For sure.
And to be social and be here for everybody.
Right on. Well,
Thanks
thank
for
you
your
very
time, my
much. I
friend. I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it. Thank
Okay,
you.
Chris. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. If you have any questions, of course, you can contact Chris. He's open for any questions you may have. We'll talk to you real soon. Take care.
Thank you.